going.
Hi, my name is Sherika, and I'm going to present on swine products and why consumption is unhealthy. I'm on slide 1. First, we'll start with what is swine. Swine is any various of omnivorous, even-toed mammal pigs, hogs, and boars. Swine is also referred to as a product containing pig, hog, or boar meat. Who's consuming pork? Pork consumption per capita by country, and per capita is basically per person, per individual, and this graph is basically to show where in the world and who is consuming the most pork. And Denmark is at the top of the list, with the United States coming in at number 9. The most pork is consumed and produced by China. The U.S. Census and Agriculture says that China is the first in the world in hog production by a wide margin, producing more than twice as many hogs as next to the 9 biggest producers combined. So that would be a production versus consumption. So this is regarding consumption. Who's consuming pork continued? This basically talks in reference to more affiliated to the United States. Pork ranks 3rd in annual U.S. meat consumption behind beef and chicken. Highest in the Midwest, followed by South and Northeast and the West. Rural consumers eat more pork than urban and suburban consumers. Higher income consumers tend to consume less pork products. Potential diseases and viruses. Swine animals are more prone to viruses and diseases such as pneumonia. In extremely crowded conditions, poor ventilations, and filth in factory farms cause such rampant diseases in pigs and hogs and boar meat that 70% of them have pneumonia by the time they're sent to the slaughterhouse. Swine carries diseases like swine influenza, Posada rabies, classic swine fever, swine blockless. And this is a diagram just to show if you are diagnosed with swine flu, what some of the symptoms might be and where in the body it might affect you. So, 69% of pork meat, pork chops, and ground pork sampled by Consumer Report studies were found to be contaminated with Yersinia bacteria. And I'm going to show a brief clip about the Consumer Report that was found regarding that bacteria.
Pork is a staple in many American diets, but Consumer Reports lab tests of nearly 200 samples of pork chops and ground pork found cause for concern. More than 2/3 were contaminated with a bacterium called Yersinia enterocolitica.
This bug can cause fever and abdominal pain, and even more troubling, the vast majority of the Yersinia bacteria that we found were resistant to one or more commonly used antibiotics.
Consumer Reports also found a few pork samples were contaminated with other bacteria that can also be harmful, including Salmonella and Staphylococcus. And again, some of the bacteria were resistant to certain antibiotics.
Antibiotic resistance is worrisome because it can lead to infections in humans that are more difficult to treat.
On hog farms, healthy pigs are commonly given low doses of antibiotics to prevent infections and promote growth. That can accelerate the development of drug-resistant bacteria. A second Consumer Reports test of 240 pork samples found about 20% had traces of the drug ractopamine. That's used in pigs to promote growth and make meat lean. A major pork producer, Smithfield, says ractopamine is a safe and effective Food and Drug Administration approved feed supplement that has been widely used in the hog farming industry for many years.
The levels we found were well below the limit set by the FDA, but Consumers Union believes that it should be banned because there isn't enough evidence that it's safe for humans.
So Consumer Reports recommends buying pork raised without antibiotics and ractopamine. And it's important to cook pork thoroughly to kill any possible bacteria.
So in regards to that clip, according to a report from CNN, 3 to 7% of the samples also contain salmonella. This would be health risks that are associated with eating pork and pork products. Digestion, it can very much affect your digestive tract system. Pork is one of the most difficult to digest versus any other products like turkey, chicken, fish. 3 to 5 hours for beef, 2 hours for turkey, 1.5 hours for chicken, and about 45 minutes for fish is the digestion method, but it takes the longest to digest pork. Consumption of fresh pork products can cause acute responses such as inflammations to the appendix, gallbladder, stomach, and intestines, acute eczema, unporkables, and abscesses. These symptoms have also been linked with consuming cured and sausage meats. Another reason why pork is probably unhealthy and a risk is that a lot of cultures consider it to be an unclean animal, so they won't consume it. They won't touch the dead carcass of an animal that is swine. They won't sell it in their stores. They won't prepare it. They'll only eat non-kosher items along with other items too. Just to kind of reflect on certain religions that it is prohibited. You can find that in the Old Testament, some of the Israelites, Christianity, Catholics will refer to scriptures in the Old Testament that state that the swine animal is unclean. Prohibition of pork consumption is also in Jewish laws. They prefer to eat kosher foods. And also with the Islamic laws, they don't actually sell or transport any type of pork into certain countries in Middle East that are Islamic. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one for you.
What's your question?
So you telling me that pork could mess up our body through the lifetime span?
I'm telling you that because of diseases that swine carries naturally, that it's unhealthy to consume. And because of cited information and references by the USDA, organizations like PETA, the amount of information that I received suggests that even products that are fed to animals can be contaminated to humans. So even stuff that they're being consuming on farms and in places to be slaughtered, most of them are, like you've seen on the slide, about 70% have pneumonia by the time they're sent to the slaughterhouse. So do you want to eat something that was sick? Chances are it was sick before it had a chance to even get killed, to be prepared for you. So yeah, I think it's very unhealthy. I have not ate pork in about 9 years, any swine.
So how you feel after you ate no pork after 9 years?
I got very sick. It happened to me on my friend's birthday. We went to Famous Dave's. I ordered chicken and beef still, but because of the cross-contamination on the grill, I got very sick. I was throwing up. Body couldn't digest it, couldn't handle it.
So the pork got on the beef. So the pork got on the beef.
It got on something I ate because they don't clean their grills properly. So it was on something I ate. It was probably cross-contamination. This has happened to me at Subway too, because that knife, they take that same knife and just cut everybody's sandwich. They wipe it off, but they don't really clean it off, and that's cross-contamination. So every time, if I go to a place like that, I don't go to Famous Dave's anymore, but if I go to the Subway, I ask them to clean my knife before they cut my sandwich.
Okay, thank you.
I also have a reference slide. So these are some of the sources, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.